everyone, this is Cindy from Stamped with Aloha. I'm here to share with you my alternative projects that I designed using the February 2022 paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up! Called Safari Celebration. So let's go ahead and get started on today's project. So for card number 1, I'm going to be using this envelope as designer series paper. So the great thing about this kit is that the envelopes that come in it are lined on both sides. So these are great when you cut them open, and you can get a lot of designer series paper out of these envelopes. So for the first card here, I cut up a piece to 3 by 5.5 inches, okay? So let me get out the card base. So we're gonna use this color card base here, and then I'm going to place this strip on the front of the card. So let me get out my adhesive, and then I'm gonna place adhesive on the back, and then glue this strip right here on the left side of my card front. The next piece that we're going to use from the paper pumpkin kit is this piece of vellum. Now we are going to be putting an image over the top here. So one quick way to put on vellum is just to use your liquid adhesive and just kind of dab it on there on the areas that are going to get covered up. But you know, I'm not a big fan of these little glue dots that come in the kit, but for the vellum they work amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and just take these little pieces out and place them on the edges of the vellum, and then I'm going to stick it down. So I've removed all the backing, and then I'm going to flip this around, and then I'm going to center this on the yellow strip. All right, for the next step, we're going to get out these little punch outs. So I have this Monstera leaf here, and then we're going to also be using the gold Monstera leaf. And I'm going to just go ahead and pre-position these on here. So I'm going to take out my liquid adhesive, and I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive on the back of these leaves. And then I'm going to glue this one here so that it's angled from the center and coming down onto the left of the vellum. And then this one here, I'll put some adhesive on the back as well. Try to not put too much. And then I'm going to place this over here on the side so that it's just kind of centered again, but then coming off the right edge of the vellum piece. Okay, so now that these are in place, we're ready for the focal point of the card, and that is this cute little guy here. So if you know me and you know my style, then I'm sure you anticipated what I'm gonna do next. But we are going to go ahead and remove the hula hoop. So I'm gonna just go ahead and cut this off and cut it off at the top like that, and separate the top from the legs. Okay, and then I'm gonna come below the hula hoop, and then I'm just gonna cut the hula hoop right off. Okay, so now I'm gonna take and I'm gonna glue him back together, but I'm going to kind of angle this so that he's gonna be a little tiny bit shorter, but I'm gonna straighten out the legs. So over here on this edge, I wanna cut this off. So now I'll have the option to put the legs on and just make him like he's wearing little shorts. Gonna make him just a little bit shorter, okay? So I'm gonna take my adhesive, place a little dot of adhesive there. And so by doing so, it just makes him a tiny bit shorter and straighter than how he was, okay? All right, so for the next step, I am going to take the Cactus Builder Punch, a scrap of old olive, and I know all of you were just waiting for this because you knew this is what I was gonna do with him. And I'm gonna take this piece from the Cactus Builder Punch, and I'm gonna use my scissors, and I'm going to just cut strips. Okay, and I cut that. Let me just fluff it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna add some adhesive here. Okay, so now the skirt is a little wide, so all I'm gonna do is I'm just going to trim, and by turning it over, I can just trim so that it comes up next to the shirt. And trim on the opposite side as well. And we are going to place some dimensionals behind here. And then he's going to go right on top of those leaves. And then I'm going to stamp on this tag that came in the kit. And then I'm going to just add my adhesive to the back. And then I'm going to place this on the bottom of the card. And then the final thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to use one of our loose flower flourishes where we have these tiny little pink flowers. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pick one up. And then I'm going to take my liquid adhesive and put a dot on the back. And then I'm gonna carefully place that right there and let that dry a little bit. And we have completed card number 1. All right, we're moving on to card number 2. So we have the yellow card base. And for card number 2, we're going to start with this piece here, which is a 2x2 square of early espresso. And I'm gonna take, and I'm just going to put adhesive all the way on the far edges. I don't want any adhesive in the middle. And then I'm going to place this on top of a piece of basic black cardstock. That's 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inches, okay? Now, the reason why I didn't put any adhesive in the middle is because I'm gonna die cut this. So I'm going to be using this die here from the Beautiful Shapes dies. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna place this right here in the center, and then I'm gonna go run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay, so I am back, and I've run this through the machine, and so then, because I didn't put any adhesive, then these 2 pieces are gonna pop apart really easily, so I can use these on another project. And then I have a nice frame that's already glued together and ready to go for the front of my card. All right, so now before I glue this down, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna glue some DSP to the bottom of the card. All right, so I'm gonna start with this DSP. This is from the In Good Taste, and this is a 4 1/4 by 1 3/4 inch piece. And I'm going to take this DSP and I'm going to glue this to the bottom of my card front. Okay, next I have 2 pieces of 1/2 inch by 4 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and place these right over the top of that piece of DSP that I put down. This is also from the In Good Taste. And this is really just meant to look like baseboards on a wall. So that's why I'm using the same wood over top of the same wood. So it just adds a really subtle texture. Probably might be hard to see in the video, but easier to see in person. But I just wanted it to look like baseboards and a wall, okay? So if that's the wall, and then we need to have something hanging on the wall. So this is what is going to be the focal point of the card. And so that's gonna go right there. Now, before I glue this down, I'm going to use my pencil, and I'm gonna come in here, and I'm going to just draw a line and trace this right here. And then I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna go place this on my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm gonna cut a hole in the front of this card. All right, for the next step, we're gonna do some stamping. So I'm gonna use this little tag that came in the kit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and ink up my stamp that says Let's Celebrate, because this is going to be a birthday card. And I'm gonna stamp that right in the center of that little pear pizzazz tag. And then also, I wanna stamp this banner that came in the kit, and I'm gonna stamp that one with Happy Birthday. So I'll ink up the Happy Birthday stamp and stamp that right in the center. Okay, so that's all the stamping that we need to do. So for the Let's Celebrate, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over and add a couple of dimensionals to the back. And then I'm gonna place this down here at the bottom. And then we are going to do just a little bit more embellishing to the front. So I use the Perfect Plants dies, and I use these 2 dies here. All right, so after I die cut the pieces, this is the little pot I got and the little plant I got. This is made out of the mother of pearl paper. And so what I'm gonna do is just take a dimensional and place it behind the pot. And then before I stick it down, I'm just gonna position it right there. That's where I want it to go. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of glue and put some glue behind my plant here. And then I'm going to slide that into the pot and just make sure that it's next to my window here. And then I'll open up, then I'll take off the back of the dimensional, and then I'll place that on the ledge like that and kind of hold the bottom of it in place like that, okay? All right, so the front of the card is done, but there is going to be something fun we're gonna do for the peekaboo part. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we are gonna take a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 of the In Good Taste DSP, and we are going to mount that to a 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 basic black. Okay, and so these are gonna go together. And what we want this to do now is to provide a background for our window, okay? So I'm gonna open this up and I'm going to add some adhesive, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just center this on the card like so, okay? Very good, and then close it. That's looking great. All right, so now this is a birthday card for my father-in-law and my niece, who are both really into hunting, and I am not into hunting at all. So I thought this would be kind of a fun card for them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this gazelle, but I'm only gonna put adhesive on the bottom. So I'm gonna place adhesive about half the way up, okay? And then I'm gonna take and I'm gonna place this gazelle so that he's standing against this wall right here, but we want him to be close to that window, so that I'm going to take and then put him through the window so that he's poking out. Now, because I use liquid glue, I wanna work quickly, and I'm gonna slide him down just a tiny little bit because I do not want the cupcake to show. When they open up the card, ta-da, he's actually just peeking out of the window, and he's here to wish them a happy birthday. So then I'm gonna take this banner and I'm going to place some adhesive onto the back, and then we're just going to slide this right here by his arm, and this will be a little message inside the card, okay? So that is my little peekaboo for my father-in-law and my niece, and I think they're gonna get a kick out of it. So for card number 3, we're gonna start with a Whisper White note card. Now, I did crop this note card at 4.5 inches to make it a little bit smaller. Next, I'm gonna be bringing in a piece of the envelope, and I just cut this up, leaving the fold in the envelope right where it was, but I cropped it so that some of the white part would show. And this is 4.25 by 5.5 inches, okay? So I'm gonna take and I'm going to place adhesive on the back of this, and I am going to mount this onto the front of the card. So the featured character on this card is the elephant. So I'm gonna take the elephant, I'm gonna flip him over. So I placed 2 dimensionals on the back of the elephant, and then I'm gonna turn the elephant around, and then I'm gonna have the elephant so that he's kind of skating over the edge of the card, like that, okay? Now we're gonna add something that's not a part of the paper pumpkin kit. In fact, it's retired product. And so I have a raspberry scrap of cardstock, and then we are gonna be doing Laura's tape technique. And so with Laura's tape technique, I just have a piece of tape here. I'm gonna place the tape over the cardstock, and then I'm gonna be using a retired punch. So this is the balloon punch, and I'm gonna use the small punch, the small balloon. There's a large one and a small one. So right over top of that taped cardstock, I'm gonna punch out a balloon. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just punch out on the opposite side here without the tape, and go ahead and do a second one. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna need for our balloon is some baker's twine. So I'm gonna get out a piece of baker's twine, and I'm just gonna cut a little piece. Next, I'm gonna take a little glue dot. I'm gonna place a glue dot on the far left side of my balloon, on the shiny side, and then I'm gonna bring that up here, and I'm gonna glue dot that kind of at an angle so that it's up here is high up towards the top of the card, but I wanted to be able to see the bottom of the balloon right there, okay? Then I'm gonna open up the balloon, I'm gonna take my baker's twine, I'm gonna lay it on there like so, and then I'm just gonna get some tape out, and I'm gonna tape it down. So then we have a second balloon, and I'm just gonna go ahead and add some glue dots to the back of that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and sandwich that together. And then I'm gonna take the balloon and I'm gonna lay it right over here so it looks like the elephant is holding it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I just want a tiny, tiny little piece of tape because this tape will show. Now let's check and see how it looks. So that looks good, and then that's gonna come down like that. So we wanna just trim this off. Actually, I'm gonna pull it a little bit straighter. Okay, and then once you've taped that on there, you can go ahead and just trim it off like that, okay? And so basically, this is a flap here, and then you have a flap here. So to finish this card, we just wanna put 2 messages in it. All right, so for the first stamp, I'm gonna use Let's Celebrate, and I wanna stamp this as far over, and I'm gonna stamp it far over to the left, and then I wanna stamp it so that it's gonna be covered by the elephant. We don't want that to stick out. So we have our first message, Let's Celebrate, and you can write a little message on there, and then when you open it up, it's going to say Happy Birthday. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a scrap piece of the envelope. I'm going to stamp the word Happy Birthday. And then I'm gonna go ahead and flag it on the ends. It's kind of a waste. I should have stamped it more to the side, but that's okay. Okay, and let me flag it on the side. Okay, so we've got our word. And then I'm gonna take this piece here. I'm gonna add a couple of glue dots. I'm gonna place that right there. And so I don't have that many pieces left in my kit because before I end this video, I'll show you the other alternative projects that I made using a lot of these monstera leaves, but I did have this one left. So I'm gonna go ahead and just feature that on this card. I'm out of banners, so I have this banner that I created. And since this is going on the inside of the card, I'm just gonna place some adhesive on the back and center that like that. And so now we have just our little birthday message here. We have plenty of room, but because I only put 2 glue dots on the back of that circle, that is gonna be the perfect place to hold our gift card. So a little gift card can slide in like that, and you're gonna close it. You can have a message, double flap, and then you have your little happy elephant. All right, now let me show you a larger version that I did of this card. So this is used with a 4 by 5.5 inch pear pizzazz. This is not a double flap, this is just a single flap, but it does have double balloons. So I did use the envelope piece from the Paper Pumpkin kit. I used Laura's tape technique, but I did 2 balloons since it's a bigger card. And then I just have 1 single message here at the bottom, and then you have place to write to the person here. Okay, so that's a larger version of this little double flap card. I kind of think this one is cute though. And this one actually, you know, we say there's no mistakes in stamping. This one actually came out of a mistake because I was trying to cut the pieces for this, and I actually cut the envelope too small, but I thought, hey, let's see if we can improvise, and that's how I came up with the double flap card. All right, now before we go, let me show you the other things that I made that I'm not gonna demo for you today, but I used most of the pieces in the Paper Pumpkin kit. I just added a white strip where I stamped with the pretty monstera leaf that's in the kit, and then I did crop the card down, and then the part that I cropped off the card, I re-glued it into the card to create this, and then I chopped up the words Happy Birthday and just left the little chimp with his little hula hoop and added some of the monstera leaves. So this is one card. And then the last 2 cards are for those of you who don't like these little characters. Now, I don't know if any of you watched the video to the end, but if you did, then these cards are for you. So it's probably likely that if you don't like the little animals, you didn't stay for this part, but here they are nonetheless. So this is a card that uses pretty much, you know, 98% of what comes in the Paper Pumpkin kit. I cut up an envelope, I used the vellum piece, I used the monstera leaves, and this little tag. The only thing I did was I added Laura's tape technique over a scrap of rich razzleberry cardstock with my playful alphabet dies. So love those dies. They're my go-to dies for creating my own unique words. So, all right, and then the final card here is where I took a white card base that I cut. I did cut up one of the envelopes, and then I brought in a scrap of pear pizzazz cardstock and white cardstock. I did also die cut a white circle using the Beautiful Shapes dies, and I did cut a tag as well. I just started running out of pieces from the kit, so I had to improvise, but I still had a lot of these pretty monstera leaves, and I did add some of our iridescent jewels on this. And then this is a pocket card, and so when you open this up, then you have a pocket right here. You could also have not glued the pocket down, and you could just made it like a double flap card. All right, well, that is it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video today. I hope I've provided you with some fun alternative projects that you can do with the February 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit Safari Celebration. I had a lot of fun with this kit, and I hope you will too. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you'll come back and stamp with me again real soon. Until then, aloha.